Welcome to our channel Learn by Animation. If you have not subscribed our channel, then subscribe so you get notification of new video. It gives me motivation to make video like this. B.R. Ambedkar's decision to leave Hinduism and embrace Buddhism is one of the most significant events in Indian social and religious history. It is rooted in his lifelong struggle against caste-based oppression, his critique of Hindu social order, and his vision for a more just and equitable society. Here is a detailed exploration of his reasons, tracing the intellectual, social, and personal factors that led to his conversion. 1. Early experiences of untouchability. Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar was born into the Mahar caste, categorized as untouchable in the traditional Hindu caste system. From an early age, he faced severe discrimination. Education. Despite being academically brilliant, Ambedkar encountered significant barriers in schools, such as being segregated from other students and not being allowed to drink water from the same sources. Social isolation. His family and community faced ostracization, humiliation, and violence simply because of their caste status. These experiences instilled in Ambedkar a deep resentment towards the caste system, which he identified as the root cause of social injustice. 2. Critique of the Hindu caste system. Ambedkar viewed the caste system as a hierarchical structure inherently designed to exploit and degrade certain sections of society. Manusmriti. Ambedkar's critique of Hinduism was centered around its sacred texts, particularly the Manusmriti, which he burned publicly in 1927. He regarded it as a symbol of Brahminical orthodoxy that legitimized caste discrimination. Caste as religious doctrine. Ambedkar argued that the caste system was not merely a social practice, but an intrinsic part of Hindu religious doctrine, sanctified by scriptures and upheld by tradition. Lack of reform. Despite efforts by reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Vivekananda, and Mahatma Gandhi, Ambedkar believed Hinduism could not be reformed from within because its foundational texts and philosophies perpetuated caste-based inequality. 3. Political struggle for Dalit rights. As a political leader, Ambedkar fought tirelessly for the rights of Dalits, formerly referred to as untouchables. Temple entry movement. He led campaigns for Dalits to access temples, which were traditionally denied to them. However, these efforts often met with violent resistance from Orthodox Hindus. Separate electorates. Ambedkar advocated for separate electorates for Dalits to ensure their political representation. His clash with Mahatma Gandhi during the Pune Pact, 1932, underscored the fundamental differences in their approaches to caste and social reform. Failure of social reforms. Ambedkar became increasingly disillusioned with Hindu society's unwillingness to dismantle the caste system, even after India gained independence. 4. Philosophical and theological discontent. Ambedkar's rejection of Hinduism was also philosophical and theological. Fatalism and inequality. Hinduism's emphasis on karma and dharma often justified social hierarchies and discouraged efforts to challenge one's status. Lack of universalism. Ambedkar criticized Hinduism for being exclusionary and lacking a sense of universal brotherhood. Moral foundation. He believed Hinduism lacked a strong moral foundation for building a just society, as its ethical teachings were subordinated to caste hierarchies. 5. Search for an alternative religion. Ambedkar's decision to leave Hinduism was not merely a rejection, but also a quest for a new spiritual home that aligned with his principles. Islam and Christianity. Ambedkar considered converting to Islam or Christianity, as both religions historically provided more egalitarian social structures. However, he feared that such a move might alienate him from the Indian nationalist movement or exacerbate communal tensions. Buddhism. Ambedkar found in Buddhism a philosophy that resonated with his ideals of equality, rationality, and compassion. He admired the teachings of the Buddha, particularly the rejection of caste and emphasis on individual agency. 6. Conversion to Buddhism. On October 14, 1956, Ambedkar formally embraced Buddhism along with hundreds of thousands of his followers in Nagpur. This event marked the culmination of his intellectual and spiritual journey. Mass conversion. By converting en masse, Dalits symbolically rejected Hinduism and its caste system, asserting their dignity and humanity. Neo-Buddhism. Ambedkar's interpretation of Buddhism was modern and socially conscious. He emphasized the Dhamma, Buddhist teachings, as a guide for social transformation. 7. Legacy and impact. Ambedkar's conversion had profound implications for Indian society. Dalit identity. It empowered Dalits to reclaim their identity and dignity outside the oppressive framework of Hinduism. Buddhist revival. Ambedkar's efforts contributed to a revival of Buddhism in India, which had been largely marginalized for centuries. Critique of Hindu nationalism. His conversion served as a critique of Hindu nationalism, which sought to homogenize Indian identity under Hindu culture. 8. Core motivations behind leaving Hinduism. Ambedkar's reasons for leaving Hinduism can be distilled into several core motivations. Incompatibility with equality. Hinduism, as practiced, was fundamentally incompatible with Ambedkar's vision of equality and social justice. Institutionalized oppression. The caste system, intrinsic to Hinduism, perpetuated systemic oppression that could not be eradicated through reform alone. Need for dignity and freedom. Ambedkar sought a religious framework that affirmed human dignity, freedom, and rationality. To expand further, let us delve into additional dimensions of B.R. Ambedkar's decision to leave Hinduism. These dimensions encompass historical, sociological, and psychological perspectives, and also consider his critique of Indian society and Hindu religious institutions at a broader level. By addressing these perspectives in detail, we gain a more comprehensive understanding of why Ambedkar took this monumental step. 9. The historical context of caste oppression. Ambedkar's rejection of Hinduism cannot be understood without examining the historical roots and persistence of caste oppression in Indian society. Ancient foundations. The caste system, deeply ingrained in ancient Indian society, was institutionalized through texts like the Vedas, Manusmriti, and the Dharmashastras. These texts explicitly sanctioned social hierarchies and the subjugation of the so-called lower castes. Medieval reinforcement. During the medieval period, caste divisions were further solidified by feudal structures and orthodox Brahminical dominance, creating rigid social boundaries. Colonial period. British colonial rule did not dismantle the caste system, but instead codified and reinforced it through policies like the census and land reforms. While colonial modernity introduced ideas of equality, it also exacerbated caste identities. Ambedkar recognized that the historical continuity of caste oppression made Hinduism a deeply entrenched and irredeemable system for Dalits. 10. The social psychology of oppression. Ambedkar explored the psychological effects of caste discrimination on Dalits. Internalized inferiority. Dalits were socialized to accept their lower status as divinely ordained. Ambedkar viewed this as a psychological tool of oppression that perpetuated the caste system. Cultural alienation. Dalits were excluded from Hindu cultural and religious practices, leading to a sense of alienation from mainstream society. Resistance through identity. Ambedkar's conversion to Buddhism was also a means of reclaiming a positive identity for Dalits, rooted in dignity, self-respect, and a shared history of resistance. 11. Ambedkar's engagement with Hindu reform movements. Ambedkar was initially open to the idea of reforming Hinduism to make it more egalitarian. Engagement with Gandhi. Despite his differences with Gandhi, Ambedkar hoped that the nationalist movement might address caste issues. However, Gandhi's emphasis on preserving the Varna system under the guise of reform disillusioned Ambedkar. Failures of reform movements. Movements like the Arya Samaj and Brahmo Samaj attempted to address caste inequities, but remained largely limited to upper caste concerns. Ambedkar found these efforts superficial and insufficient. Ambedkar concluded that Hinduism's structural dependence on caste hierarchies made genuine reform impossible. 12. Influence of global thinkers and movements. Ambedkar's intellectual journey was shaped by global thinkers and movements, which informed his critique of Hinduism and his decision to embrace Buddhism. Western liberalism. Ambedkar was deeply influenced by thinkers like John Stuart Mill, Rousseau, and Karl Marx, who emphasized equality, freedom, and social justice. Christian missionaries. Although Ambedkar did not convert to Christianity, He appreciated the missionaries' work in education and healthcare for marginalized communities. The Buddhist Renaissance. Ambedkar drew inspiration from the global revival of Buddhism, particularly in countries like Sri Lanka, Japan, and Myanmar, where Buddhism was presented as a rational, egalitarian religion. These influences provided Ambedkar with a framework to critique Hinduism and envision an alternative ethical and spiritual system. 13. The role of Dalit consciousness. Ambedkar's decision to leave Hinduism was not just a personal act, but also a collective one that aimed to awaken Dalit consciousness. Dalit movements. Ambedkar's leadership of movements like the Mahad Satyagraha, 1927, for water rights, and the Kalaram Temple Entry Movement, 1930, demonstrated his commitment to mobilizing Dalits against social injustice. Cultural Renaissance. Ambedkar encouraged Dalits to take pride in their history and culture, which he often connected to pre-Brahminical traditions and Buddhist heritage. Ambedkar's conversion was thus a strategy to unite Dalits under a common identity and inspire them to reject the dehumanizing effects of Hinduism. 14. Philosophical foundations of Ambedkar's Buddhism. Ambedkar's interpretation of Buddhism was rooted in his philosophical beliefs, rationality and ethics. Ambedkar emphasized the rational and ethical aspects of Buddhism, contrasting it with the ritualism and superstition he associated with Hinduism. Rejection of theism. Unlike many religions, Buddhism does not posit the existence of a creator god. This resonated with Ambedkar's secular and humanist worldview. Social justice. Ambedkar viewed the Buddha as a revolutionary figure who challenged social hierarchies and advocated for a compassionate, just society. 15. Political implications of conversion. Ambedkar's conversion to Buddhism also had significant political implications. Challenge to Hindu nationalism. By rejecting Hinduism, Ambedkar openly challenged the Hindu nationalist narrative that sought to define Indian identity through Hindu culture. Assertion of Dalit power. The mass conversion of Dalits to Buddhism was a political act that asserted their autonomy and rejected the dominance of upper caste Hindus. Vision for India. Ambedkar's Buddhism offered a vision for India rooted in equality, fraternity, and social justice, aligning with the principles enshrined in the Indian Constitution. 16. Ambedkar's final reflections on religion. In his final years, Ambedkar articulated his vision of religion and society. Religion as social force. Ambedkar believed that religion should serve as a moral and social force for good, promoting equality and justice. Buddhism and modernity. Ambedkar argued that Buddhism, with its emphasis on reason and compassion, was uniquely suited to address the challenges of modernity. Legacy of conversion. In his seminal work, The Buddha and His Dhamma, Ambedkar outlined a modern interpretation of Buddhist teachings, emphasizing their relevance to contemporary social and political struggles. 17. Wider implications of Ambedkar's conversion. Ambedkar's conversion had a ripple effect across Indian society. Dalit movement. His act of conversion became a cornerstone of the Dalit movement, inspiring subsequent generations to challenge caste oppression. Religious pluralism. Ambedkar's rejection of Hinduism underscored the importance of religious pluralism in India, challenging the dominance of any single religious ideology. Global impact. Ambedkar's reinterpretation of Buddhism has gained recognition worldwide, contributing to discussions on religion, social justice, and human rights.